I know, I dropped them on the way out of the supermarket.
Oh no.
But that's all right, because I should have opened the other end.
I know, but...
Yeah, the other end's quiet.
Okay,
The other one's quieter.
Well, because you were so fucking loud opening that side of the biscuit.
I was trying to open both sides. I
Oh.
couldn't open either.
So I'm literally just sending the podcast to people now and saying, listen to this, and that's it. I'm just being really militant about it.
I've been doing it.
So what did Reece say when I...
He said, Pete's been giving me a hard time. And I said, have you been listening to the podcast? And he went, no. And I said, that's why Peter's been giving you a hard time then. He went, yeah. Yep.
What are we going to talk about?
Screen unseen, screen unseen.
I've got no... Do you want a papa today?
Shall I papa?
And I'll
because you've been away.
I'll be the descant.
Okay.
See if you're any good.
Ready?
Okay, well, James is going to papa us in.
Oh, good luck.
1, 2, 3.
No,
Biscuits.
You don't.
1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Popcorn Pundits.
Yeah.
Someone's got to say podcast, don't they?
Podcast. Yeah.
It all falls apart when I don't do the papas. It's an absolute shit
Who are
show,
we? Why are we
isn't it?
here?
This is your weekly Popcorn Pundits film review show.
My name is
podcast.
James Michael Mulcrone.
And I am Peter James Unger.
And this is Nikki Thatcher.
Nikki Thatcher Smart. Nikki Thatcher Smart. And we are the Popcorn Pundits. Last year I watched 67 films at the cinema.
Just at the cinema.
Just at the cinema.
Also watched an incredible amount of films outside of the cinema.
I do indeed. So if anybody's going to have a point of view about films, it's going to be me.
It's seldom right, but you're definitely going to have a point of view
100%. However, I brought along some fantastic people. I haven't brought along at all. What week are we? 13. 13 weeks. So Peter's been on a magical journey of films he's never seen before.
Absolutely.
And I'm showing him. And Nikki is pointing out all the things we're doing wrong on a regular basis. So she's got a bigger job than both of us put together.
She went to the cinema this week.
So, we are your Popcorn Pundits. We like to review films at the cinema, and we also like to highlight things that are streaming at home to ensure that you have some fantastic entertainment at home as well. And also bring out things that you wouldn't usually see at home. You'd usually just flick through and go, oh, I might watch it later. That sort of thing. Is that right?
Absolutely, and I think this week especially, this is that week.
Good.
This is that week to talk about stuff which we probably wouldn't have gone to have seen.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, we love going to the cinema. And we've got the top 10. Well, we're going to do the top 10 rundown of what's going on at the cinema at
What's
the moment.
What's the date today, James?
Today, the date is Thursday, the 25th of January, 2024.
Perfect.
Yes.
And still
Don't
wrong.
me,
Exactly,
I'm not
exactly.
That website.
So during this podcast, we like to give you the rundown of the top 10, what's going on at the cinema. We're going to give you a small review of a film that hasn't been released yet, because we got a preview.
We
Very
did,
exciting.
yeah, absolutely awesome.
Pete's going to let me know how he felt about his homework, and did he watch it, and he's going to give me some feedback of that. And then I'm going to give Pete some new homework, and I'm also going to explain to our listeners and viewers of other films they may have missed that I'm going to highlight.
Super duper.
Do you like that? That was quite grown up, wasn't it?
That's almost the proper description of what we do here.
Almost.
Almost.
Almost. Let's not get too...
Shall I do the top 10?
Yes, please.
So this is the top 10 as of the 22nd of January 2024. Number 10 is The Boy and the Heron, which you guys went to see this week.
Yes,
I didn't.
I did.
Did you not?
No.
I thought you went.
No, Sophie went. He went with his wife.
with
Not
my
his podcast
You-
wife.
Not was
I
always
was
what...
so confused because I got sent a Nikki Smart is watching The Boy and the Heron at...
Oh, I was tagging her in in a popcorn pundit sort of styling.
Oh, I don't know how this social media malarkey works.
Wow,
My
it's all
God.
these young kids, eh?
Number 9.
TikToking. Boy and Heron, however, really quickly, I wasn't that chuffed with it.
I think we should have a little chat about this afterwards.
Yeah.
After the podcast.
No, after the top 10, because we always get interrupted on the top 10, but it doesn't normally start at 10.
Yeah. Queen.
Number
Yes,
9.
Film because Freddie Mercury can do no wrong. Next.
Okay, his 8 is Wish,
not a
which
film.
is
It's not a film.
Freddie Mercury can do
We've
no
talked about 8 before. Number 7 is The Beekeeper, which you went to see.
I did go and see it.
Oh,
and
we
I-
need to talk about that as
yeah,
well a little bit as well.
absolutely, yep.
Number 6 is The Holdovers, which we both thought...
Very excited.
But we both thought was going to be our seen unseen.
We did.
Yeah, and
But it wasn't.
It wasn't.
But now we've got double bubble.
Happy days. You've booked 7 films in a row. I just like
I
you.
know, you can tell how busy James is when you get the notifications. This is where I'm sitting.
Number 5 is One Life, which
blubbered all the way through.
Yeah, it's a beaut. Absolute beaut. Number 4, Anyone But You. Neither of us are going to see it. Poor Things, we reviewed last week. It was the film of our entire series so far. Absolutely loved it.
Yes.
Number 2, Wonka. So it's off number 1. There we go. And it's been.
It is about time.
Yeah, it is. No, but it's post Christmas, isn't it? Yes, it's.
Yes.
And
Although it's not a Christmas movie, it does feel very Christmassy.
Yeah, it was.
I'm going to watch it every Christmas now.
Instead of Elf.
No, as well as Elf.
Oh, okay.
Another one added in between that and Violent Night.
You're gonna have to start in
And
October.
A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
That's
October.
November that you watch.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And Mean Girls,
the
which
new
I've
number 1.
I've booked to go and see Mean Girls.
I will come and see this
Yes.
with you because I am learning to embrace cinema that I would not normally want to go and see, but actually have started enjoying some of the
That's
stuff.
what
I
it's
normally
all
don't want to
about.
see.
My job is done. My job is done. I'm going now.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. The end.
The job is done. Is Mean Girls, which is a music. It's a musical
I know.
about Mean Girls.
Yes, exactly.
It's a musical.
And,
one.
uh,
They made it into a musical.
And they're fetch.
Yes, and their kind of poster
That's
is
so fair.
Mean Girls IRL, which I presume means in real life.
We have to watch it and find out.
I think that's the acronym. I don't really understand what that means. But anyway, there we go. That was this week's top 10 movies. And we're back down to actually seeing only probably 6 of the top 10, James.
Shall we do?
Oh, well,
shall we,
yeah,
do,
Queen's not a
shall we
movie.
do a quick yes or no to the viewers of what's going at the cinema at the moment? So Mean Girls, we don't know at the moment. So we haven't seen that yet.
Yep.
Wonka, definitely go and see Wonka if you've got a chance. If you haven't seen it at the cinema, go and see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
100%. Poor Things, you have to see that at the cinema.
You just
Purely
have
just for the tapestry, quite frankly. I mean, those flowing capes are just beautiful. Anybody But You, we have no idea about that. One Life, it doesn't have to be seen at the cinema, I don't think.
No, and
If you don't mind crying at home instead of crying at the cinema.
I'll tell you what, the
On a bus.
Some people watch films on a bus, apparently.
On a bus.
Whoa.
that's quite a
If you
specific
watch it-
place to watch a bus.
Do you not watch things on...
I don't go on buses.
I don't go on buses. I go on ski buses, but you see people on
The most
buses
random
and
thing
they're-
ever.
Well, you can't watch it in a car if you're driving.
Well, I don't know. Okay. The way you've been driving recently, yes. Holdovers. We haven't seen it yet, but we're desperately excited about it.
Can't wait to see
I
that.
can't see it. And also, I was listening to...
this week.
No, it's not out. It's not out yet. The reviews of it have highlighted certain things that I've been preempting already, which is basically the cinematography really has a dated element to it, which really draws you in as a punter. I'm very
I
excited.
do love your excitement, considering how much you put down Sideways, and it's got the same actors and the same directors.
100%. And I'm going to reverse you even more later in a second.
Again,
The Beekeeper. Now, The Beekeeper, Jason Statham.
yeah.
Now, what I really when I watched the trailer for this, I thought it's another Jason Statham movie. He's going to kick loads of people in the head, and he's going to have a really dodgy American accent, and lots of things going to explode. Now, nothing changed. Okay, it had all that. However, two things happened. Number one is he's changed the director of his recent movies, and he's kind of almost gone back to the original Transporter movies.
Right.
Where he has hardly any text at all, and he just kicks loads of people in the head and cracks on with it. But very cleverly, at the very beginning of the film, one of his counterparts in the movie points out to him, "I can hear a little bit of an English accent in your." He said, "Yeah, I was born in England." And he suddenly gets rid of the fact that he can't do an American accent straight away. So Jason Statham, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I don't know why he didn't think about this in the future. I'm going to do that from now on. Every time he speaks. So Jason Statham plays a beekeeper, and he's literally taking care of bees. And the lady who's very kind to him down the road comes across a scenario where the computer's hacked, all of her money's taken, and money that's even worked for charities is taken, and then she commits suicide, and he's coming after them. Okay,
Right.
and that's all told to you in the trailer. Okay,
Yes.
it's all told to you in the trailer, and quite frankly, that's the story. Okay, there's nothing else really to say on top of
There
that.
is, because that's not the only way that he's a beekeeper.
No, it's not, and I'll come to that in a second. Now, so
So you just said that's all I need to say about
But
that.
it is. But quite frankly, when you turn up, you go, "Oh yeah, it makes complete sense." So it turns out that Jeremy Irons knows all about beekeepers. And Jeremy Irons is working, he's ex-CIA, and he turns around to these guys who are doing these dodgy websites about breaking into people's bank accounts, taking all the money out. He turns around and he goes, this guy's a beekeeper. He goes above the law. That sort of thing. So apparently he goes, and the beekeeper...
Did they also say that Jeremy Irons was born in England?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much everyone in the Shire.
The idea about a beekeeper is that they're so above the law and they are just set out into the community to keep the balance of the hive,
Yes.
which is the community of the world, the global
leaders.
exactly.
Yeah, so basically they're trans-border and
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, perfect.
And he goes in and he ends up fighting against several other beekeepers. It's very Born Identity as well, that sort of thing, but not as highbrow. Because I quite like Born Identity.
I'm so glad you went to see this one on your own.
Yeah.
What type of day is this, James?
This is a Saturday night movie. Popcorn, nachos, slurping drinks. You can make as much noise as you want. Yes.
We need to keep going with this because you're still counting down the top 10.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, fine. Boy and Heron.
Yeah. So this is my first Studio Ghibli movie, and I really enjoyed it because I didn't have anything to compare it to. But you and Sophie came out and you were tutting and huffing about it because you've seen quite a few of them and you thought it was pants.
There was just no love in it. There was no love in it. There was no joy. There was no. You didn't feel for any of the characters at all. And I mean, the father is an arms dealer in Japan.
You can get some nice arms dealers.
I'm sure you can. But he was quite shouty, quite frankly. In the way he spoke to his staff, he turned around and said, "Oh, you can have a break now," that sort of thing. And when you
No, he let his staff have break.
exactly, and then when it's voiced by Christian Bale,
Yeah.
and he's quite shouty, you immediately think he's going to beat me up.
So rather than not liking this film, you're just scared of Christian Bale.
Who isn't?
I mean,
Who-
what's that, man?
Yeah.
American Psycho. That's all I've got to say to you.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say to you. I personally would only give it a 5.5.
Well, that's fair enough because you come at it with a context, which I didn't.
Yeah.
And I actually really enjoyed it because it was an introduction to that Japanese animation film, which
It's beautiful. It's
I've
beautiful.
seen bits and pieces of, but I haven't actually.
Aesthetically, incredible.
Yes.
And those little bauble people, they were great. They were my favourite part of the movie.
That's what I really liked. It was like the contrast in animation. I just thought was absolutely genius. And
completely surreal.
I just loved the detailed background, the super simplified foreground characters, and like as you said, like when different weird things come in.
Exactly.
Like the parakeets, and that's funny, isn't it?
The parakeets were delightfully weird, and I love the fact that they were so two-dimensional. It made it even weirder, and I was kind of equally terrified of them, but also laughing at them at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
They were the sort of characters that would like kidnap you
Yes, that was the whole
and
point.
not take you away and not bring you back at all, ever again.
Okay,
I mean, if you've never seen a Gimli movie, go and watch it at the cinema and let us know what you think on our Instagram.
Or maybe not. Maybe what we should do is actually, as you have seen a selection of them, is next week come back and maybe give us 2 or 3 that we should see at home.
Floating
streamed.
Castle, Flying Castle, Floating Castle. That's the one you need to see. Okay. That is the one. That is the one.
Okay.
There
We
you
won't
go.
do that next week then.
No, I'm telling you now.
Okay, perfect.
That's the one.
You're very assertive this week, James.
No, I can't.
It's the roll neck.
Scared or not?
It's a bit Roger Moore.
We're also going to see a film next week which has got Samuel L. Jackson in it.
What?
We are.
10 out of 10
Super
then.
excited. Look, I've got the hat on and everything.
Yes, we are.
We
What
are.
did you see this week?
Well, would you like to give the punters a
I'll give you the title.
well, no, it wasn't a normal screening, was it? Would you like to explain about the screening?
So we went to see a Screen Unseen, which is basically our local cinema. It's about every 3 months you can buy a ticket on a Monday night for a Screen Unseen, which is basically an unreleased movie. You get to see it as a preview, but the idea is that you don't know which film you're going to see literally until the film starts. So we get quite excited at the trailers,
Very
don't
excited.
we? Because that kind of gives you a bit of a hint and a flavour of the type of film you're going to see.
And it kind of did a little bit.
It did.
A little bit.
Not so much.
No. There was a
They
couple of horror
also-
movies.
They also give you
Yes.
some clues
Mm.
as to what the
Great.
film might be. before you go there. So basically, they give you 3 clues the week before, like every few days.
And there's
apart.
lots of noise about it, isn't there? There's lots of chattering
absolutely.
on.
And it's probably one of the busiest nights of the cinema that we go and sit in, isn't it? It's generally.
It's a
3/4
lovely
full.
experience, actually, because you know very well that a lot of these people don't usually go to the cinema at all.
Well, I wouldn't have a clue about that. But what I do know is that
I asked
it's a
them.
really weird
Yes, they're going in.
in the toilet probably when you
You come here often.
you go to the toilet often.
Not Monday night, I didn't.
And we were given 3 clues.
Would you like to give us the clues, Nikki?
So the first one was a composer for our time.
I get that one now.
Yes, you do.
The second
Jazz.
one was a knight of the round table.
So you got Arthur. Oh, who's Guinevere's other half?
Mate, you're going to be asking me questions, so I'm just going to be looking at you blankly.
Anyway,
The point being, and what's the third clue?
Hang on. I'm trying to find the knights of the round table.
okay. We're Knights of the Round Table. We're not going there, they're just silly.
He's not the Messiah.
He's a very naughty boy.
Okay, so let's have a look. They were, probably names I can't pronounce, so I'm probably not going to. Percival.
Mm-hmm.
Sloquet. Hang on.
Percival. Oh, Percival is the author of the book.
Brilliant. Okay,
There you go.
yeah, finally.
Next.
So after the film, we are actually working out what the clues meant. Because this time, we didn't guess the film in
No.
any way, shape
No.
or form. Did we, James?
No, we did not.
James, did you guess the film correctly?
No, I did not.
Did I guess the film correctly?
My wife did.
That's not why I asked you, because I was going to say that next.
Oh, right.
Who's the leader of the pack?
Leader of the pack.
We'll probably work that out before
No.
the next question.
Exactly.
Anyway, so we went to see the cinema, and the movie that we went to see was...
The curtains opened.
And it
Mean
was
Girls.
American Fiction.
American Fiction.
Which, did you know anything about it?
I purposely, I saw 1 or 2 snippets of trailers, and I put the trailers immediately on pause, on mute, because I didn't want to hear the actors talking, and I purposely didn't read anything about it at all, to my delight, may I add.
Yeah, because you love to go into a movie not knowing anything
Nothing.
about it.
I love
and
it.
I literally knew nothing about this. And even
Yeah.
when the film started rolling,
Yes.
I knew nothing about
No,
it.
nor did I.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. Jeffrey Wright, what a beautiful, beautiful actor. I mean, beautiful. I'm totally in love with him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, American Fiction, written by, it's based on a book called Erasure, written by Percival Everett. It's been nominated for 5 Oscars.
You can understand why.
Best Picture, Best Music. Although, we'll come to the music in a minute.
I remember the music
Best,
so much.
yeah, I do very much so. Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actor.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there you go. So it's obviously now the name of the director and it's written by the same director is Cord Jefferson. He did 9 episodes of the Watchmen television series, which I really, really enjoyed. Jeffrey Wright, obviously from French Dispatch, Westworld, he was incredible in that.
Yeah.
James Bond, he's Felix in James Bond,
Yeah.
and also Basquiat as well, which is a beautiful, beautiful
Haven't
film.
seen that.
I'll get you on that in a second. And then you got Tracy Ellis Ross, I didn't know nothing about at all, and John, what's his name?
Ortiz.
He plays the agent. Which I really enjoyed his
Yeah.
character in it.
Yeah, really, really good.
He was an American gangster and also Fast and Furious of all films.
Oh, well, we'll have to work out which bit.
Exactly, probably one of the tyres.
Which one of the 10 he was
The
in.
Yeah.
Indicator.
Yeah.
So-
yes, he's not in it then, is he?
So, go on, what's this film about, James?
So Jeffrey Wright is called Monk.
Yeah.
Obviously after his famous after the famous jazz composer
Yes.
Jeffrey Wright. Right. Okay. The best I found this. I came up with this little thing, which really sums up for me personally.
Does
Okay.
it tell what the story's about?
In a second, okay. The film successfully tackles a central theme, and it's for me personally, it's witty, it's well executed, it's very, very funny, but realistically, it's one of these films that the tagline is something like a stick of dynamite under Hollywood. to be discussed.
Yeah.
It's.
Should we give a little bit of background? Should we basically say that this
Go on.
guy is an author?
He is.
And he's written a pretty unread novel, even though it's critically quite acclaimed.
Quite a few, wasn't it? Quite a few. Did he do 2 or 3?
He did a few books.
Yeah.
However, he's not a wealthy author. His
Not at
books
all.
aren't hugely read.
No.
He's a black guy, and he is basically appalled by the way that black literature, or literature written about black culture, basically puts the black culture back years or decades in terms of racial equality.
Yes.
It's basically hugely stereotyped, and the only black literature which is really written, the more stereotyped it is, the more successful it is. And Monk is a beautifully grumpy character.
He is. Absolutely.
He doesn't, and it's written the whole way through the film in terms of his relationship with his publisher, with his previous girlfriends, with new partners, with
His brother.
and with
Yep.
other, and
The brother's another level completely, isn't
Absolutely.
he? Yeah, exactly.
And basically, it is it's his decision to do something about this.
Yes.
Yes.
I felt that his character, not completely, but his character was the closest you were going to get to being a voyeur within the movie as a member of the audience. So his disbelief with people's stupidity, his annoyance with the stereotypes of what was going on within the community, and also obviously within the writing community and so on and so forth. So he ends up writing a disgruntled novel to his publicist just to illustrate how frustrated he is with the stereotypes that are going on with the black community and the writing.
As a joke.
As a joke. His publicist is horrified by this book.
Yeah.
And the publicist says, don't let anybody see this. This is a dangerous book.
Yeah.
Jeffrey then turns around, or Monk then turns around and goes, sod it, release it, let's see what happens, because I'm teaching all these publish houses a lesson.
Yeah.
And lo and behold...
Well, he's also trying to get one of his traditionally written books published
Yes.
at the same time.
Absolutely.
And this book, which he writes as a joke, gets taken up by the white publishing world
Absolutely.
as a masterpiece.
Yes.
And he literally can't believe
No.
it. And the writing in this film is so beautiful because you can his disgruntled disbelief. His annoyance that he's written is an utter piece of shit.
To me, there was elements of I don't believe it type scenario. Does that make sense?
It does,
because it was a farce in a certain way in that television series. Because every scene there was another stumbling block where he had the opportunity and he nearly pulled the plug on the book 5 or 6 times during the entire film. And he tried to pull the plug on it several times. He tried to destroy the book several times by calling it different names that were unallowed to be. So he ended up calling the book "fuck it" at one point, just to stop the book being published. And of course, the white publishers think it's a very brave thing that the black
and it's very street and it's,
Yes.
and it's very very culturally
urbanly real.
Yes.
Urbanly real.
And as they kind of make the decision to go with his awful decisions, you could literally hear the audience around us like groaning with Monk, couldn't you? Because it's not written as Monk is this kind of like holier than thou great character. He is such a flawed character.
They all are.
But his disbelief that people are lapping up the shit he wrote as a joke is just like, for God's sake, I can't believe that this is going on. And I mean, there are some beautiful bits, aren't there?
Yeah.
My favourite bit is... can I say my favourite bit?
Say your favourite bit without giving anything away.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of work out what that is. There is a scene where he is he's brought into a literary judging panel. And there's 5 people on the panel.
Yes.
3 of them are white. And 2 of them are black.
Yes. Oh, yes.
The 2 black people on the panel decide that this one particular book that they're reviewing is absolute horse shit.
Yep.
And the three white people decide that the book is absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
And then the kind of end comment of this judging panel was basically like, okay, it's 3 against 2,
Yes.
so we win and you lose.
Yes.
And then one of the women stands up and goes, but the most important thing about the book we're reviewing is that we have to listen to the black people's voice. And
And it's the 3 white people saying it. It is. I think it's one of these films that are going to be an incredible level of dinner conversations. You know, everybody's going to talk over supper, but everybody's going to be. I think for me personally, even during watching the film, there's elements of unease being a white viewer of this story.
Yeah.
Because it's highlighting the stupidity, the ignorance, the stereotypical white person, the way they react to black issues generally.
But then also to gender issues and sexuality issues.
Massively.
You know, and they don't. Okay, the racial issue is by far the most prominent one in the film, but they do.
But it's layered. It's not as simplistic as that.
No,
No, it's very, very layered. I agree with you completely. His brother's a fantastic character, very broken character.
The characters are all so deep.
Yes.
It's the only film that we've reviewed where I thought that the screenplay, the script was so smart.
Yes.
I came out of the film worried that actually the film could still be laughing at me for maybe not getting the last level. Because
absolutely.
You find yourself at the end kind of chuckling and
Yes.
thinking, oh my God, these people,
Yeah.
they are so awful.
Yeah.
And then you kind of think,
Am I these people?
am I these people?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you leave and you're thinking, is the joke actually on me at the end of the film, or is it actually left in the cinema when I leave? And it was, that was my kind of thought on the way home from it was, am I the joke, or is the joke actually left within it? And
who's the middle finger being pointed at?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there's lots of middle fingers being pointed at lots of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from unease and the high, it is. I would classify it as a highbrow, dark comedy with political edges to a certain extent. But very watchable, incredibly watchable because it's so funny. And what I really loved about it was amongst all this sort of, political and sexual agenda and race issues and so on and so forth. There's some beautiful little sort of subplots for the story where, particularly the lady who takes care of the household. And her relationship with another character within it is instantly beautiful. It doesn't even need warming up. No. It just you instantly there and they start interacting and you instantly are part of that story and you want good things to happen to some of these people. And
you want bad things to happen to a lot of these people.
Absolutely.
It is just so well written.
Yes.
It is. So knowing nothing about the film, not really knowing what the plot was, not even really knowing this film was coming out.
Yep.
Within 10 seconds, 15 seconds of the film, I'd laughed, and I'd laughed out loud from the dialogue in the film. Within the first 5 minutes, we'd both laughed several times. I mean, it isn't a huge film of peaks and troughs.
No.
It is a really nice, slow, ploddy, meandering film, but the laughs in it are sincere and deep. It is very, very funny.
And more so for the fact that the writer, the director, and the actors have put so much thought into every single scene, every single word, that you are in safe hands. And you feel safe to be able to laugh at a situation. I think there are certain comedies about race that you don't feel comfortable laughing because the platform isn't wide enough. And I think this was beautiful.
The first thing I said to you when the film was finished was, I'm really worried about reviewing because one of us is going to make a stumbly error. So we don't need to say anything about the content of the ending.
Yeah.
Did you think the ending was necessary, and do you think it worked?
Ooh, that's very good.
That's a good way
Now,
to word it.
Now, I feel to continue with your question about whether we are the joke or not. I feel that the endings of this movie give you the option as a viewer almost to choose what direction you want to go in. There are certain people that be drawn towards certain parts of the ending. I felt that I think the ending worked incredibly well, and I thought it was I think it's just an extension of the movie itself.
Okay.
Go on.
I feel like Peter disagrees.
I actually said to myself, the film cuts to black at a particular moment.
Yeah.
And we're led to believe that's the end of the film.
Yes.
And I said to myself, when that happened, please be the end of the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I had a feeling that it wasn't the end of the film.
Yep.
And I loved the way it left it at that point.
Okay.
I didn't like that last
Really?
5 minutes.
So I thought it put a little bow on top of it personally.
Yeah.
And
That's why I asked you, because for me, I'm a really soppy.
Yes.
I'm a soppy little
I know you
thing
are.
when it comes to a film like that.
Yeah.
And to me, that ending was a beautifully ambiguous ending.
Yeah.
And perfect.
Yeah.
And then they put a bow on the top, and I didn't like the bow,
Yeah.
but I thought that you would like the bow.
Yes.
And that's what I was wondering.
Oh,
So
good.
anyway,
Quotes. Potential is what people see when what's in front of them isn't good enough.
yeah.
That was a lovely, lovely
Yeah.
quote from the movie, I felt. Connections with the film, I felt, for people who haven't seen the film. Don't you feel, and I'm putting words in your mouth now, but I'm waiting for you to go, no, James, I don't feel that way at all. Paul Giamatti, those two have been separated at birth, I feel, by their dialect, the way they come across, the pace of their acting, and the pure beauty of their acting. Him and Jeffrey Wright, I feel that they feel like they've come from the same mould.
Well, yeah. So I mean, we're going to see the holdovers
Yes, we are.
next week, and it's a very similar pace to Sideways, and it is that kind of slow, meandering film, which I'm a huge fan
Yep.
of. I love that pace of movie. I don't see them as similar actors at all.
I'm glad you don't.
Yeah, but I mean, the acting in this was beautiful. I
Yep.
mean, it was really, really beautiful.
Yep.
But no, I don't see them as the same actor.
So in fact, I feel that Sideways, although I feel like it hadn't dated that well, is a really good reference to this film.
I totally agree with you.
Yep.
And actually, one of my favourite relationships in the movie is between Monk and his publisher.
Yes.
And the two of them, because basically Monk is convinced to act more street black than
Yes.
he is, because he's a very well educated.
And he's rubbish at it.
He's so
He's
bad
so.
at it.
I think you'd be better.
And the producer is basically trying to get him
Yeah.
to ham up
Yes.
this streetness.
Come on.
And and it's
Why aren't you wearing a baseball cap? That sort of thing. Yeah, exactly.
But
And
the relationship between the two of them, the fact that they can't believe that this thing is going.
I know.
And then when Monk tries to destroy it by renaming his girl, and he's like, "And what are you doing? What are you trying to kill this thing for? It makes you so much money." And but anyway, I love the two. I thought it was brilliant.
so, score.
It's quite a simple 7.9 for me. It's just not quite an 8, but it's really good. I put it there comfortably.
Okay, I'm giving it a strong 8.2.
Okay.
A strong.
I thought you'd be higher scoring than
No,
because you came out and you were.
I am.
You had this glow around your brain, where your brain was like overheating
Yeah.
from everything that you'd just taken in, and even as you're walking downstairs, you weren't
Yeah.
quite out of the cinema. You
I
were
wasn't.
really in it, and then when you turned up tonight, you were still
on it.
I can't get past that
Yeah.
film. So
I need to go and see it again, and I think on the second viewing I'll probably give it a higher score because I feel that there was so much beauty in it. There was so much to absorb as a viewer that I don't think one viewing gives it enough time.
It's one of the best written films I've ever seen.
There you go.
And how are we making our scores better?
How are we going to make this film better? I would have nipped the ending off. I'll be honest with you.
5, just cut it down by 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not just cutting it down. It was like there's a false ending and then there's an additional ending. I didn't think it needed the additional ending.
I feel that the soundtrack itself.
Oh, you talked about the soundtrack.
Yeah, I feel that the soundtrack, although it was jazz and I love my jazz, I felt that it didn't take the film seriously enough. every time that jazz flute came on in the background, it felt a little bit Peanuts. It felt a little bit Snoopy.
You said nuts.
It just to me it was a little bit distracting.
I didn't even notice the music.
Yeah, a little bit distracting. And I felt that it was almost... I'll tell you what it was doing was, I felt that the music was brought in as a character to highlight the fact that this is going to be something funny in a minute. Although this is not a funny subject, this is going to be a funny moment. And I felt that was almost...
Oh, so it's instructing you.
Yeah.
Instructing you to emotion. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. I didn't get that from the music at all, and if you played 3 songs and one of them was from this film, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell which
There were
one was
almost like little sound bites in between, little snippets, rather than full songs. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Awesome.
So the average score that works out as 8.05, so I'm going to say 8.
I'm very happy with 8.
And it was nominated for 151 awards and has won 52 of them.
Nice.
Didn't you say this has got 5
5 Oscar nominations.
5 Oscar nominations.
5 Oscar nominations.
Do you think it's going to win any of them?
I've got a funny feeling. He's going to win the Oscar.
It's 7.8 on IMDb as well.
Wow, is it?
Yeah, so we're fairly close. I've got a funny feeling he's going to win the Oscar for it. There's lots of politics at Oscars, and he's been around a long time, and he's always been reliable, and he's always been secure. He's always been a good.
Yeah. So he was quite a major character in Westworld, wasn't he?
He was.
This is his first leading role, though, I presume, is it?
No, Bathwa, he was leading.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Okay,
with David
yeah.
Bowie, and yeah.
Okay.
Right. Go and see it, though. Please go and see it at the cinema. I mean, admittedly, the cinema itself. I mean, if you can't get to see it at the cinema, go see it as soon as it's streaming, because it's still going to work on the big screen, on the screen at home.
Yeah, I don't think you have to see this at the cinema. This is a
I was
film
trying not to
watch.
say that.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I would rather people saw this
Yes.
film than not see it because we say you have to see this
I
at
agree.
the cinema, and it is one of the most worthwhile couple of hours you'll ever spend, and it's. I don't like saying, "Oh, it's a really smart movie," because it sounds really condescending and smug, and it's not. I just
You sound like one of the reviewers in the film.
I do, and
Yeah.
I just came out thinking that
What?
was so sympathetically and intelligently written that I feel like a better human being for having seen it.
Yeah, it was food for the soul.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, that was the main film.
it was.
We've highlighted the films that we've seen for the rest of the cinema. I give you some... So it's just part of the podcast that we like to look at the homework I've given Peter. I'm going to give you some homework for next week, and also I'm going to highlight any films I've seen this week as well.
Yes. So this week you sent me
Yes.
the Society of the Snow,
Yes.
La Sociedad de la Neige.
Oh, look, you're getting all Hungarian.
I apologise for my.
Hungarian.
And who's
I totally forgotten this on going.
and who stars in that?
Cameron Diaz.
No, she's not in it.
She's
not in that
There's
one.
actually no one in it.
No, there's not.
There's no one in it at all.
No.
There's no one famous. So last week I asked you, was this a remake of Alive?
Hmm.
You said, no, it's not a remake of Alive. Alive's an absolute Americanism, and it's just totally Hollywood. This is an absolute remake of Alive.
Well,
It's exactly the same film
it is.
as Alive.
Yes.
Um,
No,
and-
it's the same story.
No, it's exactly the same film
Right.
as Alive.
Right.
Cowboys.
So, in that there is a shock bit in the middle of the film. I knew that was coming.
You did.
I knew that was coming.
You did.
So this is the Uruguayan
Yes.
rugby team
Yep.
who are basically having to fly over the Andes to play in a rugby match.
Yep.
And I don't know why they fly over the Andes, because apparently no planes ever get over the Andes. And then if anything does happen,
But they're rugby men.
but you can't be rescued. Apparently, they make this all really apparent. Yeah, it's just like, oh, well, I wouldn't go fly over the Andes. There's no way we can send out a rescue team to go and get them because it's over the Andes.
What do you get?
So anyway,
Here's your ticket.
This plane crashes, and
1971.
it's a prop plane,
Yep.
and this thing clips the top of a mountain And holy shit, when this thing goes down, you need a sick bag.
Yeah.
Forget about the flight.
I've never seen a crash like it in a television.
I've seen it once before in a live.
Yeah.
But yes, but yes,
the cinematography.
it is brutal. It's like, oh my god, brutal.
Yeah.
And So anyway, so the plane crashes,
Yes.
and there's a lot of deaths. And then the few that survive, 13 I think survive. They basically they assess their surroundings, and they're eating the small supplies that there are left on the plane. The back end of the plane has broken off somewhere else, and they basically just start a survival process, expecting to be rescued within a sensible amount of time.
Like you would do in
24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes really apparent they're not getting rescued.
It just started to dawn on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought one of the most beautiful things about the film was as people die, their names and ages appear on the screen as text.
Yeah.
And I found that a really emotional thing to see. And I thought that was a beautiful way of demonstrating death. I thought that was really, really lovely. And then the film starts getting really dark and difficult to watch because you really realise that these guys are in here for the long haul, and you realise that a night in the Andes in the winter is a murderous thing.
Yeah.
It is to survive.
Not just cold, you're right, murderous is exactly the right word for it, I think.
Brutal, absolutely brutal. So they have to all cuddle together to just maintain body heat.
There was one moment, when they're on the side of the mountain, and a group of them go up there. We won't go to all the details, but there's a group of them on the side of the mountain, and just to illustrate how cold it was. It wasn't just cold; they were all huddling together, obviously, and they were trying to hit each other to keep the blood pumping in their bodies. Yeah, and they're going, hit me harder, hit me harder.
You're watching them, and you don't know. They're so cold, you don't know whether they're going to survive the night, and you feel that by watching them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason that this is a film and it's not just a sad story about a rugby team crashing is that they famously ate the dead. And there were two people two of the team were studying medicine, so they were basically given the role of dissecting the bodies, and they decided that they were going to do the butchery anonymously, so out of sight of everyone else. So everyone was nourished, but they didn't know who they were nourished by. Right. And there were a certain number of people who were hugely religious on the flight who would not eat human flesh. Yeah.
For a while.
Well, it was a month, which is incredible. And anyway, so they go through this journey, and they go through the whole thing of should they leave and try and find rescue, and it's an arduous watch. It's a really, really tough watch. And I'm not suggesting I felt like I was there, but you certainly feel for
You feel cold, don't you, when you're watching it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you feel isolated.
And hungry, so I had some charcuterie.
Did you have ribs?
Did you leave the skin on the side?
But I have to say that the whole film for me was ruined by the fact that it was so similar to Alive. And,
really? Okay.
And
I was able to detach myself from it quite significantly. I feel mainly because it was so brutal.
Yeah, maybe. So the thing for me is the last few weeks of my homework have been a roller coaster and an education. Firstly, in films that aren't necessarily my genre, or I wouldn't necessarily choose to watch, and maybe even I wouldn't have enjoyed 6 months ago, if I'm totally honest with you. Yeah. But I've kind of learnt to enjoy films which weren't in my selection box. Yeah. And now I am enjoying more. And then this one just felt a bit disappointing because I kind of knew it, and it wasn't such a. It wasn't any type of challenge for me. It wasn't any type of journey for me. No. That's the first bit of homework that I've had like that, where I kind of felt, that was all right.
Okay. It's good. It's good.
However, I was away last week, and I watched a few movies, and we watched Poor Things last week.
We did.
And I watched The Lobster while I was away.
Brilliant!
And that should have been my homework, I think, this week, because it is very much in the theme of Poor Things.
Yes.
It is
Well, same director.
absolutely batshit crazy.
I mean, for those of you who haven't seen either Poor Things or The Lobster, there's a very surreal element to the directors, the way he tells a story. Now, this is streaming at the moment.
He's not a well man, is he?
No,
basically?
it's streaming, isn't it, at the moment? Either on Prime or Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it was on one of the two. I can't remember.
Okay,
which
right.
it was, but
Okay,
you
so
can double check that. But
Yep.
but that is a definite watch, 100%.
Yes.
It's,
And who's it starring?
Colin Farrell. And actually, it's
Rachel Waziz,
They are yes,
her, Mrs. Bond.
yes, and the Queen.
Yes.
And so he basically uses the same cast pretty much in every
Oh,
film,
yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's an amazing cast.
Mm.
You know, these guys are phenomenal
Yeah.
actors, and you start watching, you think. And my first thought was when he started producing and directing films, how did he get these actors involved?
I know.
Because it's a real challenge.
Yeah.
That they're not made to look good in any way, shape, or form.
Not
I mean,
like-
they're made to look, you know, ugly and stupid, and you know, I mean, Colin Farrell doesn't look
No,
good in
No.
this film at all.
not at all.
But it's I found that a
Good.
really, really fun watch.
So, what score are you going to give The Snow, and what score are you going to give the? Because I think we should give
The
people.
Sociedad de la Neige. I'm going to give a 6.9.
6.9.
It wasn't a bad film, don't get me wrong, and if I hadn't seen it live, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Okay, and what are you going to give The Lobster?
I've just becoming a huge fan. It's
know.
It's 7.4.
Good.
It's just a really good film. And by the way, if I'm scoring something a 7
Yeah.
and above, it means I fucking love it.
Good.
So
That's why
yes,
Swim Fan got such a good score.
it absolutely did.
Okay, so I've seen a film recently. I've rewatched a movie recently that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm gonna give you two pieces of homework this week.
Okay.
Okay. One is a psychological horror, but they call it sci-fi fantasy dark thriller type thing. So yeah, I would go along with that. Okay, and the other is a jaw-breaking sort of western that goes in directions that you don't expect it to go at all.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is a film called. Hello. First film is a film called Triangle.
Yes.
Okay, The Triangle. Have you seen The Triangle?
No, you sent a screenshot of
I-
you watching it this week,
I did.
and you put the little tagline. Can you guess what I'm watching?
Yes, and none of you got
No,
one.
because we've never seen it.
Delving into your mind,
I
you.
don't even bother trying to guess with you. I mean, I did with yours. And
Yeah.
Yours was very good.
Okay.
But yeah.
So The Triangle, incredible film.
Yeah.
Really, but you got to stick with it. And the second film is a film called Tomahawk.
Okay.
Okay, it stars Kurt Russell and what's his name out of the Conjuring movies.
Out of the what movie?
The Conjuring movies.
Conjuring.
The Conjuring movies. It's a western. But it goes in a certain direction halfway through the film that you don't expect it to at all.
Okay, cool. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
there you go. So they're my recommendations, and I recommend that you watch those films this week as well, so you can feel how Peter feels about them as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. And if you want to send some reviews through, Nikki, how can they do that?
They can head over to Instagram, the Popcorn Pundits.
Our Instagram's getting a bit fuller and a bit more kind
It
of
is.
posted
Yes.
upon
It
now.
is,
I
but
think so.
Also, they can comment on the YouTube videos as well.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Oh yes, if anybody who doesn't know, you can actually watch this as well as listen to us as well, and you can see me pulling,
You can watch us.
you can see me pulling James's clapping hands away from our new microphones, which we've got
You
because
fluffy muffs.
yeah. So these
Hello.
are supposed to make our sound quality considerably better. So
Well,
let us know.
yeah, you be the judge of that, you listener, you.
Yes.
Yes. I'll be done.
You're not doing any recommendations for this week?
That was my recommendation
That
for the.
was. Okay. I thought
So it's
you were-
homework and recommendations in one.
I think so, yeah, because I've given you two. Yes, I think that's the way forward at the moment. Yes.
Well, then we're done.
Yes. Are we ready?
I'm going to pop our out.
I was going to say,
James
you prepare this time because I don't
destroyed
think
the
we should let
beginning.
James do it ever again.
Papa, papa,
Pa, pa, pa,
papa.
Popcorn Pundits.
Podcast.
I love the way you just turn and look at me.
Well, that's your work. Your one job is to say podcast.
You two said podcast.
Podcast.